Hey guys. So as I mentioned in previous videos, I am currently living in Colombia on exchange, although I normally live in Melbourne. And I wanted to talk today about being on exchange and some advice I would give to people who are either considering exchange or in the process of getting there. So the first thing that I want to say is plan to live with other people in your accommodation. This is awesome for a couple of reasons. You get to meet people who are from the country that you're living in. So they are the locals, they know where to go, they know how to be safe if you're living somewhere that might not be the safest place. Then you can connect with their friends, and then you've got a whole friendship group living in this country. The other thing that's really good about it is meeting other exchange students, possibly, getting to meet people from all around the world and experiencing their cultures and learning more about where they're from. And the reason that having a group like this is a really good thing is that you've been uprooted from your friendship group, your family, your all of your support systems. So it's a really good thing to have a very quick, easy, immediate way to meet new people and create really strong relationships in this new country that you're in. The other upside to this is that if you are living somewhere a little more dangerous and you feel like going out at night, which might not be something that you could really do with just one or two friends, you've suddenly got people who you live with who might be able to say, yeah, I'll come along, and suddenly your group of people is 5 or 6 people strong, which in a lot of places would be quite enough for going out at night. The next piece of advice I would say is to plan to travel on the weekends. You'll have subjects during the week, and then you'll have either Saturday and Sunday, or if you're really lucky and you don't have subjects on Friday or Monday, you might have 3 whole days where you can do whatever you feel like. It can be really easy to make plans and then put it off weekend after weekend, and that's a shame for a couple of reasons. You're gonna get bored sitting in this city for the whole weekend. Even though you might find some cute touristy things to do, there's still so much more that you could be doing. Of course, I think that if you're feeling tired, overwhelmed, if school is really getting to you, if you just don't feel like going away on a weekend, don't push it. But I'm talking more about when you make plans and put them off for a while just because you don't quite get around to it. The other thing is it's really easy to make weekend plans on Thursday and then go, and that can be fine and great in a lot of ways, but you'll probably waste money because flights and accommodation are going to be more expensive because you're left at last minute. You might have trouble with finding people to go with you if you need to, for all these reasons. So it might actually be better to plan a week or so in advance for these cute little trips. So my next point is that you shouldn't overpack. Now this depends a lot on what your finances look like and where you're going, but for me, coming to Colombia is a good and bad thing because the climate is very diverse. Bogota is cold and rainy 90% of the time, and then when it's sunny, it's hot, like it's very warm. And if you go to any other cities, if you go to Medellin, if you go to the Caribbean coast, it is hot. So you can't just pack cold weather clothes, you have to pack for a range of climates, which gets very frustrating when you're packing 6 months worth of clothes for a range of climates. That's not a lot of space. What I did wrong was I tried to pack for 6 months of clothes for every climate, forgetting that there are some lovely clothes shops here. So as I said, it depends on whether you have the money to buy clothes all the time. I've bought some, I wouldn't say an excessive amount, but for example, my warm weather clothes, I didn't bring a lot, so I've been supplementing that here. And that can be really lovely for a couple of reasons. So firstly, you've got these clothes that you'll always look at and think, oh, I bought those on my exchange. Even if they're not like obviously touristy clothes, they might not say Colombia across the chest, it's still something that you personally can remember. The other thing is that you might be putting money into the economy of the country you're in, and for somewhere like Colombia, that's a really positive thing to go out and buy clothes from people here. It's really positive. This probably wouldn't or doesn't apply as much if you are going to a more affluent country, but it can be a really good point. And also if you do need to do any sort of like assimilation into the culture, as in you want to look less like a tourist and you want to look a little more like you live here, then it can be a really good thing to buy clothes from the place that you're living. Again, this really depends on where you're going and where you're from. Another thing to think about for your exchange is what subjects you're going to take. It can just be the worst thing in the world when you're in this beautiful, amazing place. Your friends are making plans to go to museums, to do touristy things, to go away on the weekends, and you go, I really have to study. So I would say plan subjects that are not the hardest. Underload if you can, do less subjects than normal in a semester. You can make it up when you get home. And a lot of universities do have just a pass requirement. You only have to pass your subjects, and keep that in mind. Don't be pushing yourself too hard and getting 80% in a subject where you only need 50 or 60%. You got to keep the perspective in mind. And it's probably the hardest thing about exchange is balancing every part of the experience, because it's a completely new balance for me anyway. I no longer work, so I don't have to worry about balancing work with everything else. But now I've got this huge traveling aspect to balance with university. But university is completely different because I no longer need to work for 80%, I need to work for 50%. So everything sort of gets shaken up and gets changed. Another thing that I would recommend is to bring things with you from home. This is my coffee pot. I brought it from Australia. It's lovely. It makes just 1 cup of coffee. I love it. My flatmate loves it as well. And the other thing is I have this. This is my mug. Isn't it gorgeous? And it just makes me feel at home. It makes me smile every time I look at it. And it really helps with things like homesickness, of course. So I'd really say bring things that seem silly, that seem maybe unnecessary to some people, but if you know that they're going to make you smile and think of home when you look at them, then I'd say bring them with you. And the last and most important piece of advice that I have for you is just be prepared for a mountain of paperwork. I was preparing for exchange a year before I left. That's when I started making applications. That's when I started writing essays for applications, passport things, visa things. You have to apply with your university, and then you have to apply with the other university, and they both have to be accepted. And then you've got... And it is just grueling. And it sucks. But let me tell you, I was sitting there and I had a last second, I had to send off my passport to Sydney for some reason that I had no idea about, no one had told me about, and sitting there going, is this really, really worth it? It's really, really worth it. So keep that in mind. All I'm saying is that exchange is not an easy thing to set up. So that is all that I have at the moment. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you want to hear more about my exchange, I have lots of things I can talk about, so just let me know. Thanks. It's got a little violin on the inside. I hope you... Oh, it's starting to rain. This is Bogota.